Good evening and welcome to Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson, and of course, I'm sitting down with Megan tonight. We're going to be discussing your healing work and your ducks. And honey, if you could fit anything else on your plate, how else could you?
I'd have to get a bigger plate.
Yes,
but I think they make them bigger, don't they?
I don't know. I think that we're both up to serving sizes. If they go any bigger than that, I'm not exactly like, I need to move to Mars so I can have a 36-hour day.
I just need about 2 more of me. If I had 2 more me's that could do all the things. I
love that idea.
Right? Yeah,
right.
That's what I need. Yeah, an assistant that I don't have to explain anything to about what I do.
No. Right. We can just start you can vibe with them, and it's like, I need you to go write some blogs. You can hop onto social media. I'm going to go over here and meditate for the 2 hours that, all these spiritual-minded people tell us we're supposed to do.
Well, I'd have to actually have one of the me's do the meditating because I can't sit still that long.
Really?
Really.
Wow. Yeah. So tell me about the beginning of your journey. How did you get into healing and working with energies and herbs?
Oh, gosh. It's my whole life, actually. I was born into it. I come from a foraging family. And for those who aren't familiar with that term, I grew up in a family where we went out into the forest, or we went out to the beach or the fields, and we collected food. We collected wild berries or seaweed or clams or oysters or mushrooms and wild herbs. And my parents were real foodies. My mother had a real Asian influence. She spent a year in China when she was in university. My dad was always an outdoorsman. So there was this great fusion as I was growing up of all of these amazing foods. Nothing was processed. So I grew up with this appreciation for how food can be so powerful as a healer. And then how I got into healing, I was the kid that picked up the worms after the rainstorms and put them back on the soggy ground. Saved the birds, saved the cats, brought home stray creatures to my parents, stood up to the bullies, on the playground. So I grew up always looking after people. And then, to be completely honest, after so many times where people had stopped me in the grocery line or in the bank lineup or on the bus and told me their entire life story, which I was somehow able to help them with, it occurred to me, oh, why am I doing this for free? I could be getting paid to do this kind of work. And so I started to look into, how does that happen? How does one get paid to be a psychic or paid to be a healer? Or how can one be a psychic healer? And bringing the two together, because I didn't just want to let people know about stuff that they might not be conscious of that was in their energy field. I wanted to assist and support them on healing all the things in their lives that needed healing. So there were more healed people than unhealed people, which of course I haven't achieved yet because there's a lot of us on the planet, but that's the goal.
Right. And there's a lot of unhealed people that don't get the connection that the body echoes the mind echoes the spirit echoes the connection. And it's this overlapping thing that can start out with just a bad thought or old tape, and then it echoes all the way through your body.
Absolutely. And it's not something that we're taught. And because we're not taught to trust our intuition, and because we're not taught that we're a psychic species, we don't trust what we know is the best thing for us, whatever is in our highest good. We're just simply not, generally speaking, taught how to do that. My upbringing was a little different because I was taught to listen to my dreams. My mother she'd sit me down at breakfast in the morning and say, what were your dreams last night? And we'd talk about our dreams. And I felt comfortable in the natural world. I felt comfortable in the forest. I felt safe. So I was open to the healing energies that are there naturally in nature. But I know that's not everyone's experience. And so people need help. That's what I'm here to do.
Right. And that's what you do really well. You're a master healer and, to also foraging expert. Is foraging as easy as it used to be? Like, where are we on that on the planet?
That's a really great question. Is it as easy as it used to be? I think I think a lot more people used to forage because it was just a way of life. I mean, there were no grocery stores, so foraging wasn't a fancy thing that you did. You went out and you got your food where you could find it. Nowadays, with the forests getting cut down, with cities expanding, it is a little less easy, I think, to get to the places where you would need to get to in order to have really clean, natural foods and things that you could forage. I also think that over the last 100 years, the knowledge that we have that we can trust the natural world has been suppressed quite intentionally, to the point where most people don't even realize that the herbs that they're buying perhaps fresh at the grocery store, they could very easily be growing on their deck or in their backyard, and that there's medicine in those plants.
And not only is there medicine, there's less processization, there's less, and you don't have to have a 90-acre. I think we also get told that the bullshit story.
Which one?
What I mean by that, you got to have 40 acres.
Right. No, you don't. No. You don't. You just need to know where to go in your environment. And it's easy for me for where I live. I live in Victoria, which is in Canada on the west coast, southern part of Vancouver Island. And we live in a fairly small city. I mean, it's rapidly expanding and densificating and all that kind of stuff. But still, we've got mountains, we've got forests, we've got beaches. I live two blocks from the beach. I can go down and harvest seaweed if I want to. Somebody who's living in the middle of a big American city or even a big Canadian city, it's not as easy to get to those wild places. But then that's why we have urban foraging.
Right. And, but I have to say, you guys have, Canada has a little bit easier. Because I was in Canada probably about 9 or 10 years ago, and the host and me went to the grocery store, and I was surprised. Like, I'm used to grocery store. We have a little tiny produce section, and everything else is in cans and frozen. In Canada, half that store was fresh.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize there was such a difference.
Yeah, there's a major difference. Like, that you guys have more, like, you can get, and I know this may seem weird, but like, there are like huge pieces of ginger, and I'm like, who could eat that much ginger?
That's so interesting.
I
just dried a bunch of ginger yesterday because I bought a whole bunch of ginger.
Right.
And I dried it, and I'm going to powder it, and I'm going to use it in my cooking or in my tea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But, I think the U.S. has a little harder time when it gets to fresh in the store, or, staying on the perimeter of the store, because now they started cluttering the perimeter of the store with crap.
Yes.
Granted, I live in West Virginia. There are berries all season. There are, of course, if you want to hunt, you can hunt. There's a lot of meat out there to hunt. You can fish. You can go and gather and that type of thing, which is great. But we get into dangerous territories when we get to mushrooms. Be an expert. Don't read a book. Go with someone.
Yes. Go with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go have that experience. Go get with those grannies out there. And I think that you begin to see a difference in the food.
Yes.
Surprisingly stronger.
And it's interesting as you're saying this, I'm remembering a number of articles that I've read or documentaries that I've seen talking about the food deserts in major American cities, where there is no place to go to get fresh food.
Right.
And what was so wonderful about that, these articles I was reading, is that what they were saying is that because the human being has this urge, this desire, this yearning for fresh food, citizens are taking it into their own hands, and they're converting abandoned lots and abandoned parking lots and abandoned buildings into inner city gardens where they're growing their own food. They're remembering that they can do that. And I love that. That just fills me with such hope for the direction that we're going in.
Right. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a tomato, 6 pepper plants and a tomato plant introduces, I think, enough into your diet, cuts down on your budget, and enables you to have a little bit more confidence. And then maybe you do some potatoes. Maybe you start learning to pair the vegetables together.
Absolutely. Or you join a community garden. If you are one of those if you're I won't say unfortunate people, if you live in a building where there are no balconies, which seems to be the way of the buildings these days, having a balcony garden isn't possible for you. But then find those community gardens, because they do exist,
right,
and participate in them. And that's how you're going to live longer, live better, live healthier. You can create a little mini blue zone in your own neighborhood.
Right. And, if you got rooftop, if you got windows, my grandmother used to grow sweet potatoes in her kitchen window, and they would get to be huge. And it's just, because she lived in a trailer. So, of course, she didn't have a lot of land. But she would, grow a tomato plant in a pot and a pepper plant in a pot. You have house plants. Make them eatable.
Yes, exactly. And pretty much everything, okay, not everything, pretty much many things are edible that people may not necessarily consider or have been taught differently. Right? I mean, we're speaking about mushrooms.
Right.
In North America, many people are microbiophobic. So they're afraid of mushrooms. They've been taught that mushrooms are dangerous. Only eat the little white button mushrooms in the grocery store, if that, but otherwise stay away from them all. But in Europe, mushrooms are they're part of daily living. Like people just know what are mushrooms that are edible, what are mushrooms that are tasty, and what are mushrooms that are medicinal. And then some of those mushrooms that we just stay away from,
Right.
But the more that we study the mushrooms, the more we're understanding the medicinal components of them and appreciating how having mushrooms in our daily lives, even the button mushrooms that you get in some grocery stores, they all have medicine, just like food, like all good food does. And by having that on a daily basis, you're improving your whole health, your brain health, your metabolic health, your central nervous system, your intuition, your whole body is better when it's getting food as medicine rather than a pharmaceutical as medicine.
Right. So we're not exactly sure what all the extra white powder in that pill is, but we'll go with it. Yeah. But the other thing here is, there's a lot of hoopla going on in your area, in your field, because I'm not an energy healer. I'm not a medicine person. I will say I have great medical training to take care of you after a doctor has seen you. I am not, however, a medical professional. A lot of buzz is coming out now about adrenals. What's your thoughts there?
Oh, okay. So we have adrenal glands. They're attached to our kidneys. Our kidneys work really hard to clear our body of toxins. That's why we pee. That's the liquid part of toxins coming out of our body. People talk about adrenal fatigue, and then they target the adrenals. And you can do that with herbs, and you can do it with essential oils. But that's actually not a whole lot different than targeting it with synthetic medications, in that you're still not addressing why your adrenals are not healthy. Right. So whether you're doing it naturally by herbs and food, or you're doing it medicinal, like medically with prescription drugs, if you're not asking the most important question, which is why am I fatigued, then you're not going to solve the problem no matter what you throw at it.
Right. It's like, oh, my sugar's up. Well, I'll just pop another metformin and we'll shoot some insulin, whatever, instead of going, why is my sugar up? What am I eating that's pissing my sugar, my pancreas off? And that's a whole new thought process when we look at medicine.
Yes, that's true. And especially in Western medicine, our doctors are not taught to ask those kinds of curious questions. At least in my experience over the last, I would say, 2 decades of being in hospitals, advocating for my family members, advocating for my clients, and in my own experiences, I've had 17 surgeries in my life. First one when I was 5 years old. So I have a long history with being in the mix of all that medical system. Very rarely have I come across a curious doctor who has said, so what's going on with you? Like, how are you? Not, does that hurt, but what's going on for you? I've had one doctor in 55 years who said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually care what you came in here with, because that's not the problem.
Right.
The problem is you and what you're not doing to support yourself.
Right.
That was devastating to hear, by the way.
Oh, I bet. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I have what I call the super doc. The reason is he's the super doc is I went through 56 different doctors before before I found one that would even see me.
Wow.
You know, I have 7 herniated discs, overwork, living in West Virginia, being a nurse, evidently cause of it.
Mm.
And he's like, so what do you need to manage?
Right.
And it's like, well, this is what I need to manage. I need to be able to be functional and not blazed out of my head.
Right.
And he's like, huh? And I'm like, here's the rules. You are not allowed to give me anything that will knock me out. If it knocks me off, it goes out of here. I don't want none of the narcotics. I don't want none of the, I just gave him a whole list. And he's like, so you basically want aspirin and a muscle relaxer. I said 2 notches above aspirin so it doesn't piss my liver off.
But did he get curious about why you needed those things? Okay.
Yeah. He was curious about, like, how do you have 7 herniated discs? That's not supposed to happen. I was like, 120 hours of overtime. 79 patients and 3 deadlifts.
Yeah.
We'll talk about I can't share the rest of it because of confidentiality. But he's like, oh, yeah, you've done there's a reason there. So when are we doing surgery? I said, we're not. But it's that interacting with him, and he's like, okay, what do you want versus this is what I need you to do.
Yeah. So he had curiosity, and he had, I would say, like an intuitive sense of your overall health picture, and then the steps that could be taken, that you could choose to take if you wanted to address the circumstances and make changes.
Right. And I get a prescription of, all right, you're joining a gym. You've got to lose this amount of weight. And that's not the prescription that 95% of doctors would have walked out with.
100% right. Can I share something with you that I went through very recently? Okay. So I look after my aunt, and one of the many things that I do that is probably not on the list of things you have in front of you is that I have a business called House Help, where I go into people's homes and I do a holistic support of them. So my aunt is one of my clients. She has Parkinson's. She also has bipolar medication. So she's on levodopa for the Parkinson's. Every 2 hours for 12 hours a day. So 6 or 7 doses a day, right? Of the levodopa, and then the other medications. And she kept having these dementia-like episodes where she would lose her mobility and she would lose her cognitive functioning. And what we were told by her neurologist and by her GP is that this was the natural progression of Parkinson's. This is the natural progression of the disease. And I said, no. Intuitively, I know that that's not true. What my intuition was telling me and what my learning was telling me is that something was going on with those medications. First of all, she was way over-medicated, which most people are in the Western world, very over-medicated. Then you've got all the side effects of these medications, just the single medications and all their side effects. But then you start putting them together, and now you've got a whole host of other medication or side effects. What would happen was she would end up in hospital with a full-blown case of dementia, and we'd be told, this is it. She's in long-term care. There's nothing more you can do for her. And I would say to the doctors, let's get her medically stable. Every 2 hours on the nose, she's got to have her levodopa. And within a few weeks, she would start to rally. And then within about 6 weeks, she was completely functional again, moving, cognitive. It's taken 3 of these episodes for her doctors and the doctors in the hospital to consider the possibility that the reason that all of this was happening to her was because she wasn't taking her medications properly, and
Right.
that some of the medication she had been taking for 16 or more years, she'd been on these medications, could maybe be adjusted just a little bit. Right?
Okay.
That's what it took. It took her going into these crises. And thank goodness she had me there to ask the questions that she couldn't ask because she couldn't even feed herself. She was in such a bad state, and advocate for her. And some of the people on her team have said to me, since we've now got her adjusted and back on her feet again, that they now look at their patients differently. The older patients who come in presenting as if they have dementia or Alzheimer's, they're starting to look at their medications to see if maybe it's the medications that are the problem,
right,
and not whatever the disease is that they've been diagnosed with. And interestingly, in my aunt's case, all of the medications she's on, including the levodopa, which is the only medication that we have right now for Parkinson's, causes Parkinson's, causes Parkinson's-like symptoms. So when you start to look at the bigger picture, and this is where I guess like intuitive medical intuition comes in, you look at that bigger picture, and you look at our health crisis, and you look at all the prescriptions, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to put the pieces together and realize that at the basis of the health crisis that we are experiencing in North America is, or whatever the grammar is, the medications and the way in which they are being overprescribed and given at the wrong dosing, and that no one's curious to ask if this is actually working or not. Like, is it actually helping the client?
Well, and I totally agree with that. The other part is, I think we have a health desert in a lot of America.
Right.
In America, especially. Now, Canada, you guys have a wonderful healthcare system. It has its issues. I get that. I understand that. But you have one.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's under attack right now.
America's very different. Really?
It is over the last 5 years, as the world imploded, a lot of cracks showed up in our system up here, and a lot of good people lost their careers, lost their jobs because they were speaking differently than what they were being told to speak about certain things, and so we have a very understaffed medical system here in Canada now on every level.
Right.
Doctors, nurses,
well, and
yeah.
I have to say this, with what we went through, I'm not surprised that we don't have a lot of understaffment, because we burnt some of those nurses out. Totally.
Yeah.
You know, the rate to leave bedside is insane.
Yeah. And, you know, before all that happened, many of my clients who were coming to me were burnt out nurses and health professionals who knew by working in the system that the system wasn't going to be able to help them with what they needed help with, unless it was going to be a pill. But if what they wanted was to change their lives, that support isn't there. And having gone through 17 surgeries in my life, and I've been in very critical conditions and so forth, thank goodness for the medical system, or else I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you. I would have died in childbirth twice. I would have died on the operating table a couple of times. There's various reasons that I wouldn't be here right now. So in an emergency situation, when the need to respond and react is at its greatest, our medical teams are amazing. Preventative medicine, holistic medicine, lifestyle medicine, natural medicine, food as medicine.
I think they're still learning.
There's a learning.
I think they're still learning, and I also think there's a world that exists where all of it works together, and you're given the options of, like, okay, you can either continue taking these muscle relaxers, these painkillers, this, or you can decrease your intake of gluten, sugar, and, you know, white flour. Your choice, or let's try both.
Yes. Yeah. Well, choice is fundamental in all of that. I mean, choice should be available in everything. and part of the reason why we lost so many good health practitioners over the last 5 years is because they weren't given choice.
Right.
And I mean, so they chose to walk away because the other option wasn't something they wanted to do. And they felt really strongly about that, as many of us did. Choice is fundamental, and we need to be taught how to make choices when we're growing up.
Right. So and I don't think that we are.
I don't think we are either. I agree. I know that my little nephew, he's just turned 5. When he was much younger, about 3, he was visiting with me, and I gave him a choice. Would you like this or that for dinner or something like that? And his mom, my sister, looked at me and she said, "Don't offer him a choice." It's like, why not? I want to teach him that there are choices, and I want to teach him how to make a choice, or that it's okay to make a choice. But she was really adamant, and it took me back. I was surprised. My daughter grew up always being given a choice. 1 or 2 choices, not like 1,000, not like walking into the grocery store. You've got 90 different kinds of laundry detergent to choose from. But to make a choice, because being able to make a choice empowers us. Right? It gives us that empowerment. It gives us a sense of self. And it actually lights up the part of our brain that is the decision-making part of our brain. And for a lot of people, I think that part of the brain is atrophied. Because they just told, and they don't think critically about what they're doing and ask any questions about it.
Right. So you've said you've advocated for your clients. What does that look like?
It looks like me being present when they are with their doctors or going into the hospital for any reason, being there for their appointments. It's also, for me, about educating them. Let's say they give me their list of medications, and I'll go do my research, and I'll be looking at the same websites the doctors are looking at, and I'm finding all of the research that's been done on that medication, the list of side effects, many of which are no longer in the pamphlets when a person receives a prescription anymore, and the interactions that are possible. And then I will bring that information to my client to say, here, it's really important that you understand what you're saying yes to when you get that prescription filled, so that you can make a choice for yourself. Is this, does the cost ratio and the benefit ratio make sense to you? Or are the list of side effects more damaging to you than what you're dealing with? And then can we find another way to help you to deal with it? Or you do choose to take the medication, but let's be smart about it. Right. So it's those sorts of ways that I advocate for my clients in that circumstance and situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't go, okay, well, he's prescribing blood pressure medicine. Let's start you on 2 cups of ginger tea instead.
I will say he's prescribing blood pressure medication. Let's look at why you have high blood pressure, first of all. I want to know the events and the experiences that have allowed the body to show up with the symptoms, right?
Okay.
And then once I have an understanding of that, of the basis of it, so when I work with my clients, I start with the story. What is the story that they're telling me? And I listen for the words that they're using and the intonation of their voice and what they're getting triggered by or what they're stuck on. The symptoms are not the problem. The symptoms are the body crying out for help, trying to get our attention, right? So before we have the ginger tea and before we decide whether or not to take the high blood pressure medication, I want to help them understand where this is coming from and why it's showing up for them.
Okay.
As I said before, if we don't look at the source, we're not going to heal. We might mask the symptoms. We might put a Band-Aid on them. We might add more symptoms if we get side effects. So I would rather learn what happened 5 years ago, what happened 10 years ago, what happened in childhood, what happened in another lifetime. That could be the basis, the foundation for what's showing up physically, whether that's illness or injury.
Okay.
And then start working with what can we add to or take out of the way that the person is living their lives.
You brought up what happened in a past life. How does that affect? Or how does that apply?
Well, it's helpful to understand the concept of past lives, which I'm sure many of your audience do, and to have a belief in it, whether it can be verified or not, proven or not. It's the idea for me that there's so much to experience in any one lifetime. Like there's so much to experience in a lifetime. It's not enough to just have one life. There's just too many amazing experiences that we have as a human being, right? And so because our lives in the physical form are finite, there's only so much we can do. There's only so much we can heal. There's only so much we can understand, and there's only so much we can evolve in any given lifetime. Right. So I believe that what the soul does is it makes a plan. It creates a plan with its team in the non-corporeal world, and says, okay, here's the things that I didn't quite figure out, learn from, build on, understand, or feel in this particular lifetime. So I'm going to bring some of that into this new life that I'm about to have. Because in this new life, there's going to be opportunities that didn't exist in the previous life that are uniquely situated to help me with that thing. Right. So let's say it's a health issue. Let's say you were King Henry VIII in a past life, and you died a huge man with massive coronary issues and gout and an injury on your leg that would never heal. You died like that.
Right.
Let's say you then choose a new lifetime, and in this lifetime you're going to be the fittest guy ever. You're going to be an Olympic athlete. That's the path you've chosen for yourself, which is great. And in that being an Olympic athlete, maybe you're going to take too many steroids, or maybe you're going to allow yourself to be born with a weak heart. So the problems are still going to be there. The challenges are still going to be there. And maybe you don't have enough magnesium or enough zinc in your diet, so your wounds aren't going to heal properly. But you're being born in the 20th century, where we have the internet, where we have a lot of information that wasn't available in Henry VIII's time. And you have a different mindset. So you start using the resources that are available to you in this lifetime to help heal the issues that you couldn't heal in that previous lifetime that you've brought in. So that's one of the ways that we can allow a physical thing that did in a previous lifetime, bring it into this one where we have a different opportunity to work with it in a different way and possibly heal from it or learn from it, depending on what it is that we wanted from it.
Where does genetics play into that?
Pardon me?
Where does genetics play into that?
Have you read Brian Lipton?
I have a little.
A little?
I haven't gotten all the way through him.
I loved his first book. I loved the way that he brought forward this question about genetics. I also love the way that Seth from the Seth material. And are you familiar with Seth? I had a feeling we were talking about Seth tonight. I just had a feeling. I love Seth. Oh my gosh, he's so irreverent.
Yes. He is.
He is. I know. And what were their names? Who he spoke through? Jane Roberts and Robert. So Jane Roberts and Robert Butts were married, and Seth spoke to Jane.
Right.
So the influence of Seth and the way Seth explains about genetics and the way Brian Lipton explains about genetics really was foundational for my understanding about genetics.
Okay.
And basically it's like this. The moment that somebody says to me, it's this and nothing else, I'm going to find a dozen other things that it could be.
Right.
I don't work with absolutes. I don't work with black and white. It just gets me the wrong way. So when Lipton says what if it's less about genetics and it's more about environment and mindset? Because we can take somebody who should have, according to genetics, a genetic predisposition for, say, cancer, and we can remove them from the environment that they've grown up in and the attitudes and beliefs of the people around them, and take them and put them somewhere else and introduce them to a different way of thinking about it. And they won't get cancer. They won't develop cancer. It's not inevitable. Right? So genetics says it's inevitable. And the alternative to that is it's not inevitable. It's environmental and it's mind. Like mind over matter.
And it's preset.
Nature versus nurture.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and that's the reason I think we have so much problems with health in general, in this medicine, is it's not just one part.
Yes. Yeah.
And that part applies for everybody.
So I had a really interesting experience years ago. Again, one of these foundational experiences. This was a dream that I had, and in this dream, I'll make it the shorter version of the dream. But in this dream, I'm riding on a bicycle and I'm riding through the countryside, and it was a very lucid dream, and I'm looking around and thinking, wow, this is beautiful. I love this, and I'm riding, and then I get to a city, a small town, small city, and I follow the path, and the path takes me to a playground. And the playground is full of people, adults mostly. There's some children, but it's mostly adults. And the adults are the ones playing on the play equipment. And I think, well, this is kind of neat. Adults should be playing on the play equipment, but I wonder what this is all about. Anyways, I'm still on my bike and I follow the path into a big building, big open building. And in the middle of this building, there's this huge slide. And all of these people are slowly moving their way into the line to walk up the ladder to get to the very top of the slide and then slide down. And when they slide down, they disappear. So I put my bike down and I get in line and I'm having conversations with the people, and everyone seems really excited and they're really there's lots of anticipation in the air.
Right.
So I climb up to the top of the ladder, and in front of me, there is a young man who has very severe physical disabilities and cognitive disabilities. He's all hunched over and he's got thin little arms, and he's looking like he's going to have a really challenging time. And there's a woman standing at the top of the slide, and she says to me, "It's okay, dear, you go around him. It's going to take him a little longer to get down to the bottom of the slide, and then he's going to have a bit more of a difficult time." And I thought, wow, okay. So I pass him, I give him a smile, he smiles at me, and I slide down the slide and I wake up. Wow. So powerful that when we talk about genetics and we talk about choices and lifetimes and what we choose to have happen to us as we come into this lifetime, that dream was expressing that idea, that understanding, that so that man was choosing his condition, his physical body, the challenges that were going to come from those experiences. He chose that before he was going to come into this lifetime. So we could say there's genetics because we can look at the physicalness of the human body and we can read genes and we can splice them all into tiny little pieces. And we can say this is the sum of the person. But if we only look at that, that's very limiting in terms of our imagination and our creativity and our understanding of what it is that creates circumstance in our lives, and and more importantly, what we can change, or how we can
how we can change it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that we see this a lot with when we start comparing cuisine and the food that we're fed or are feeding ourselves. Compared to our genetics, compared to you add in your past life and your relationship for food and what that relationship is and how that relationship goes into it. And it really feeds into how the body processes it and what minerals it actually takes out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you start to look at the bigger picture of what's possible, to me, I find that really empowering. I find that really empowering that I have the capacity, my body has the capacity to respond differently to different substances. If I get gluten, I'm a wreck. I bloat up like I'm 9 months pregnant. Oh yeah. Like I'm 9 months pregnant. Everything gets achy. I can't think straight. I went to go see a naturopath because I was in such distress after my second baby was born. I felt like a 99-year-old woman, and an unhealthy one at that. I could not even get up off the sofa to play with my daughters. And so I tried everything. Like it's the classic experience of people who come to me. I've tried everything in the mainstream. And all the specialists who don't talk to one another couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I was told it was all in my head. I go see the naturopath. and she asks me a whole bunch of questions. And she has the luxury of an hour of my time as opposed to a 30,
right,
like a 10-minute meeting, right?
Right.
And so she listens to everything that I have to say, and then she says, "Have you ever heard of fibromyalgia?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, go home, look it up, do some research." I loved her. I mean, for a doctor to say, "Go home and do your own research," amazing. And she said, and then come back to me next week and let's talk about what you find. So I go and I do my research, and I'm checking every box, and I'm getting more and more excited as I'm checking every box, because there's something to help me understand what my body is doing physically. And that means there's a solution that I can work with. So when she said to me, "I think this is what you're dealing with," I burst into tears because I was so relieved. And other people in my life said to me, "Oh my God, this is so horrible. The sky is falling. How are you ever going to survive?" It's there was all this catastrophizing going on around me. And I'm saying, no, this is really good.
Right.
Because now
there is a reason for it.
Yeah. And so now I can start paying attention, and I can start looking at my diet. But more importantly than that, one of my doctors said to me, "It is all in your head." And what he meant by that wasn't I was making it up or I was trying to get attention or anything like that. What he meant was it's in the way you're thinking, and it's in the way you're allowing your life to unfold. And that gave me ammunition as well. That let me start thinking, like looking at my fundamental relationships, looking at my marriage, my relationship with my husband, looking at my relationship with my parents, looking at what I was allowing in my life and how I was allowing other people to treat me, and where was that coming from. So for me, it opened up this book with all these pages in it that I could reference to heal myself. And gluten was one of the triggers. Now, gluten is it's an inflammatory. I mean, we have a physical body, so our body responds physically to the things that we introduce it to. 99% of the North American population is gluten intolerant. We're not meant to eat grass. We don't have 3 stomachs. This is it. And
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So about this time last year.
Okay.
All right, I got to back up and say, before this, I'd done low carb, no carb, cutting out the white flours, cutting out the sugars, getting my diabetes under control. About this time last year, my mother's community had a bake sale and had a hot dog sale. And I'm like, sure, we'll take hot dogs, Mom. I can do a cheat. It's no big deal. I haven't done bread in a while. This will be all good. Ate the hot dogs, threw up. Felt like crap for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Nothing was going right.
Right.
Go to doctor, go to the, he gives me some emergency medication to deal with GERD. All my life, ever since I entered my back, have had joint pain, nerve, shakes, swollen joints throughout, not just my back, the whole body. And just like, okay, this is RA, this is what is occurring in your body.
Right.
Yeah.
Normalizing,
going, okay, well, this is life. We just, guess I decided to need an extra cookie this life for this one. So I finally get to where they're doing real tests, not just like blood work, that type of thing. They're doing the scope and stuff. And I'm coming out of surgery, and the first test, he goes, I think, you probably have celiac disease. I don't know until we do the next test. Coming out of the next test, he's right back to GERD. But when he said celiac, I went, oh, well, that's something I've not heard of. Let's go digging.
Yeah.
Went gluten-free. Now have really serious reactions when someone puts the wrong pizza in the oven, but that's part of life. I've lost over 40 pounds.
Congratulations.
Other than getting gluten, I feel amazing. Like I'm back to my original life.
Right.
finally got super doc because I don't see him that often. And he's like, yeah, you've got a gluten allergy. It's evident. Let's put it on, put it on the paperwork. And it's like, okay, I've been dealing with this for 20 years at this point. Nobody thought to mention the word gluten to me. No one said, do you think that you have a gluten intolerance?
No. And the wheat industry is going to make sure that it's not commonly known that their product that has been so changed and altered in North America is causing such illness in people.
Right. And not only that, but they're putting it in everything.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Because they have so much of it. There's a complete glut, which is a fun word to use in this conversation, of wheat in North America.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's what I now call the what the fuck moments. When you go gluten-free, you go and you do the beginning of the clean out of the kitchen. Getting rid of the wood spoons, getting rid of the plastic that has been containing wheat, getting rid of everything that has gluten in it. We use Fig. It's an app that I can scan and it immediately tells me what's in the food and if I can eat it or not.
Oh, wow. That sounds like an amazing app.
It's a lovely app. It's FIG, just like the fruit.
Okay.
So I'm scanning and I grab a can of green beans and scan it and it pops red.
Huh.
Green beans had gluten in them.
Yeah.
Shredded cheese. My aha moment today was shredded cheese.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work to be that diligent. And unfortunately, not everyone really, it's just a lot. I mean, everyone has a lot going on in their lives. And so to add another layer of the things we have to be concerned about, but then it comes back down to choice. If you know how awful you feel when you have it, then it's worth taking the time to determine what you're putting in your body, if it's going to hurt you or not. Right?
Right. But it's like, these are the things that you are great at. It's going, oh, so you're hurting and you're grumpy and you really ain't been doing great in the stomach department. What are you eating? Why are you eating it?
Why are you eating it is the key question.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's where it takes it down to that deeper level. So when I tell you I have a gluten insensitivity, or a gluten sensitivity, not insensitive. I'm not insensitive to gluten. Or that MSG, that was actually, that was brought to my attention long before the gluten was brought to my attention. I have a severe reaction to MSG. Then I started looking into what is MSG. There was a great little book that was written in the 1970s about MSG that was banned in North America. It's really hard to find it now because it was spot on, right? MSG is a neurotoxin, if people aren't familiar with that. And it's a flavor enhancer. It makes your brain believe you're tasting something that is more flavorful than it actually is. That's why it's put into food. But where was I going with that now? I got sidetracked with MSG, gluten. Oh, right. Is the why of it. Right. The why of it. So, I could, like, your listeners could say, well, okay, look, if you've got all of this intuitive psychic knowledge about food and medicine and all of that, why do you still have fibromyalgia? Why do you still have a reaction to gluten? Don't you want to be able to eat the gluten? Well, frankly, no, I don't want to eat wheat from North America because it's been so adulterated. So I'm okay to let my body have the ability to tell me when I have eaten something or been exposed to something that isn't good for me, because then I can clear it out of my body. I can clear it out physically with various herbs and drinks and things like that. I can clear it out psychically or energetically. I want that alarm system, right? I want my canary in the coal mine. That's what I feel my gluten allergy is. It's my canary in the coal mine. When I went to Iceland for 2 weeks, their wheat is a very different strain of wheat than what is grown in North America. And I was able to eat the bread. I was able to have sandwiches. I was able to have, it's not like a lot of it, but I was able to have it and be okay. So my canary didn't start dying when I was in Iceland. A lot of people have that experience. They go over to Europe or they go to different parts of the world where they're still using the old original grains that we evolved with, and people are okay. So I'm okay to not heal my gluten allergy right now. I like having it so that I know when I'm getting good food and not getting good food.
Question: when you feel your gluten allergy, did you later develop lactose allergy too?
I actually had lactose allergy growing up. And in fact, really? I was gluten intolerant growing up too, but my father conveniently forgot about that until I told him that one of the things the naturopath had said is to take gluten out of my diet in order to manage the fibromyalgia symptoms. And he said, oh, I remember now when you were little, the doctor said to take you off of dairy and wheat because you were having so many digestive issues. Like, thanks for remembering.
About time is my normal comment to my mom. It's about time, 40 years later.
Right. Exactly. So I was, in fact, I came into the world with some of these sensitivities already in place. And if I'm going to be honest to my belief about what we do before we come here, then I believe that my soul said, these are some of the challenges that I want to have, that you're going to have, that we're going to have, because the path that you've chosen in this lifetime, yet again, is to be of service to other people. And this is the way you want to be of service to other people. So we need to have these things in place so that you have the personal experience of that discomfort, that illness, that injury, to be able to do the healing on yourself and then take that knowledge and help other people with it. Right. So that's what I believe. And that's how I make sense of it and validate it for myself.
Well, what I'm continually finding is just certain things that are like psychic. Oh, let me guess your problems. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. And it's like autoimmune disorder of some variety, whatever you want to label it, RA, fibromyalgia, not RA, but AR, pain reflex issue.
Right.
It's the nervous pattern of the RA without the bone damage.
Right.
Normally a problematical childhood, like it's like these are the monikers you pick up if you're going to be an intuitive any form or salt. That type of thing. And when you were like mentioning this, and I'm like, checks the box. Checks the box. Yeah. And I find it interesting you bring it up because that is another big debate, whether like if you could eat Italian wheat versus American wheat, and why, was it Santana, something is like controlling all the seeds in America.
Right. So the question is, why would you eat North American wheat if you could have European wheat?
Well, not that, but why are we doing this?
Oh, why are we doing this? Yes. Well.
Yeah. Why are we doing this when it doesn't? When 90% is gluten intolerant, especially of the new wheat. But America keeps producing the bad product.
Yeah. So when Europeans thought they discovered North America,
they didn't.
They didn't. No. But that new wave of Europeans, let's call them that, the new wave of Europeans who came over with such a sense of entitlement. And contrary to what the history books like to teach us, with a few pilgrims came over in a little ship and they landed in Plymouth and they spent the winter hanging out with the indigenous peoples. Very wealthy families came over from Europe to North America. They already had lots and lots of resources. Lots and lots of money and lots of skills. The Industrial Revolution was in full form. So the exploitation of the natural resources that were here and being underutilized by the remaining population of indigenous peoples, because that's a whole other history lesson about the millions of people who used to live here before the last wave of Europeans showed up. The Europeans brought this sense of entitlement and this industry with them. And they have no interest. These are the same families, by the way, that are the forces behind the faces. Like the face we see is Bill Gates, but there's a lot going on behind him. So they have no interest, I believe. They have zero interest in stopping the way in which they are running their industry, whatever that industry happens to be.
Right.
Now, I don't have billions of dollars, so I don't know what it's like to sit with billions of dollars and think I should share my wealth.
Right.
And I'm willing to do that. I'd like to think that if I became a billionaire, that would be the kind of billionaire I would be, but I don't know. It's not been my experience in this lifetime. So, there's some pretty tight controls in place at government levels and at, I guess, community levels, and with these old families who are really fighting hard to hold on to what they have.
Right.
If we're going to make predictions, I think things are shifting. Yeah, things are definitely shifting. And yeah, but that's
we'll leave it there.
Leave it there.
There's some things that people aren't ready for right now.
And that's okay.
But I find it interesting. And that's perfectly all right. But I find it interesting that I wonder how many Europeans there are that have has either celiac or gluten intolerance compared to America. And where that inlay is it the wheat? Is it the soil? Is it the controlment of seed? Because like farmers find out their elbow if they plant their own ancestral seed.
Yeah.
If they, produce a different crop than what the government tells them to. Hello, thank you to the control of 1932, 33, Great Depression, wheat Dust Bowl, all that.
Yeah.
We also have states that are in drought situations. We have states that are flooded. But the flooded states can't transport the water to the droughted states. That's against federal law.
Yeah. Too many cooks? Too many cooks? All trying to get...
Too many controls.
Too many controls?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And it's interesting because when Pandora's box is lifted, when the lid is lifted and we start to see all of these connections, I mean, they're hiding in plain sight. They're not hard to find if you know where to look for them.
Right.
It can be dispiriting to see all of this, like the machinations, the machinery that is required over decades and decades and decades of families and government controls creating the scenario that we're in now is mind-boggling if you think about it. And it can be really overwhelming, and people can feel they can go into apocalyptic thinking of like, that's it, we're ruining the world, we're all going to die, chicken with a head cut off.
We ain't got time for that.
We don't have time for that, nor is that what's going to happen.
Right.
Just not. That's not. That's just not.
That's what I mean by we ain't got time for, the sky is falling, great, build another one. That type of viewpoint's the way I look at it. The other thing that gets to me is like, we have Chinese medicine that's been practiced way longer than Western medicine. We have herbal medicine that's been practiced way longer than Western medicine. And they can't all get along. That is beyond my brain power. Like you going into an appointment with a doctor, that's got to be a situation.
A situation.
Yeah, like, have you ever had a situation where you come in and the doctor's like, oh, I never thought of that before? Or are you always met with, eye roll, next she'll tell her to put a crystal on her forehead?
Pretty much the latter.
Yeah.
Pretty much the latter. So when my daughter had a adverse vaccine reaction to the HPV vaccine, we went into the hospital. We were in emergency, and we didn't understand yet that that's what had happened. That knowledge didn't come until much later. But she was having these massive body spasms, and she could not control any of them. And one of the emergency doctors, I said to him, well, what about Lyme? Like, what about Lyme disease? And he looked at me and he said, oh, you're one of those. Like, I'm sorry, I'm one of what? Lyme. That's such a conspiracy theory. There's no such thing as Lyme disease. I'm like, what?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. Where did you just crawl out from underneath? But it's
where's your DEM5 for that? Because yes, there is Lyme disease. Here's the medical information for it. Go to Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same with fibromyalgia. You know, that's just not a thing. That's just somebody's just making that up. Well, no, they're not. And let's, instead of being so dismissive, and it's not even like I said, you know, maybe it's 5G and she's reacting to that, or I said, I don't know, she's got a past life thing that she's dealing with right now. Like I wasn't even way out there. I said,
no, you were not even off of like first base.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. And actually when my aunt, the one I was talking about earlier, was just most recently in the hospital, she ended up with a really swollen toe. And one of the doctors said, it's gout. You have gout. And they sent her in for an MRI and they sent her in for a CT scan for her foot. Never mind how much that cost the hospital or cost the taxpayer. Right. And so I'm standing there with her doctor and the doctor's talking about gout. And I said, oh, okay, but gout it's a food related, you know, food and drink. Like we know that that's what causes gout. And my aunt's not eating or drinking any of the things that are traditionally known to cause gout. And she looked me straight in the eye and she says, well, we don't really know that it has anything to do with diet. So here's the prescription that we're going to give to your aunt. Wow. Oh, and she'll be on it for the rest of her life because it's a preventative prescription.
Okay. Excuse me. That's like giving a 96-year-old cholesterol medicine to prevent a stroke.
Well, at the end of the day, it turned out not to be gout. But you know what? My aunt, who's so sensitive to medications already, was on 2 different gout medications within a week. And thankfully, she had the wherewithal and her own intuition to say, this is not gout. I'm not taking these medications. And she stopped taking them herself.
Right.
And then later on,
Monsanto.
Her doctor said, actually, no, this isn't gout. This is not what gout. You don't have gout.
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you find that maybe Western medicine is misguided? And what I mean by that is they don't even take into the age of the patient.
It's true. They don't. They don't take in a lot of things about the patient. We have a one-size-fits-all medical system. Right. And one size does not fit all.
No.
I can't. I just can't. That's just not how that works. We are all unique. We have different metabolism. We have different health histories. We have different, like we're different. We're completely different.
Right.
If Western medicine, and I do believe the pendulum is swinging in this direction because I keep hearing about more and more doctors who are recognizing the limitations to what they can do for their patients, and they're frustrated. Right. They don't want to get another prescription. Now they're kind of bound at this point in certain circumstances to that model. But I know of a lot of doctors over the last 5 years who have stepped out of that model completely, have said, I'm not with my College of Surgeons and Physicians anymore. I don't have a valid medical license. I'm going to do more like what you're doing, which you don't need a license for in Canada yet. Fingers crossed. So, so I think it's swinging, but I think we have a long way to go. Because it's like a whole
I think we do have a long way to go. But at the other side of it, I think that we're going to be seeing more of you. Yeah. We're going to see people pulling out medical studies from the 40s, pre-paperclip. Notice I said pre-paperclip. For those that know. And looking at it and going, maybe they were onto something.
Yes. And wouldn't it be amazing if we were brought up with common sense?
And able to make decisions.
And able to make decisions.
Think that as soon as you put on a white coat, you get God authority over somebody's life.
It's called the white coat syndrome. I had a great experience.
You're not always right.
When I was in university, I was a geology student. One of the things I did in university, and my lab partner and I were in the bowels of the museum, and we were going to cut up a bunch of rock to look for fossils. And we walked into the museum, just kids, university kids, bumming around, just wearing our regular clothes. And we had a hell of a time getting into the labs. But in the labs, there were some white coats hanging. So I said to my lab partner, let's have some fun. Let's put on our lab coats and see where we can get into. And we were allowed carte blanche. Nobody asked us who we were. We weren't asked for ID. We were going into restricted places in the museum. We had a great time. It was Power of the white coat. People get blinded by it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Yeah, it's insane. And they get God, you get God authority to go, well, you know, it has to be high cholesterol because, you know, that's, you know, your blood pressure is 132/46. Here's your blood pressure medicine. What? When did that become high? What planet is that high on?
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. That has been happening. It's quite insidious, actually.
It is, and it's from one study that's already been disproven out of England. But it made it to the American Medical Association. They published it in a magazine, and every GP from here to Timbuktu did not take time to read the study. And go, well, that's not garbage. They studied 100 people that were smaller than 5'6" and had a low stress life.
Where did they find out their blood people who had a low stress life?
I don't know, like Switzerland or something. You know, someplace where they actually invest in their people's lives.
Yeah. And again, this is where that self-responsibility piece comes in, right? As adults, many adults have been brought up to play the blame game. It's everybody else's fault but my own. It's my parents' fault. It's my teacher's fault. It's society's fault. It's my religion's fault. I'm the victim. What I want to help people with is turning that around so that they are taking responsibility for themselves as an adult. Okay, you don't feel good, you do something about it. But taking that prescription medication with all this list of side effects may not be your best choice. What if you were to do this instead? Just one thing. Let's just try one thing and lean towards that. I can be responsible for myself. I can take care of myself. Basically adulting, which
old age adulting.
Yeah.
Old age Gen X adulting. Like, let's fuck around with this. Let's try this for 2 weeks. Let's try going to the gym 3 days a week. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that for the first hour of the day, you aren't inviting anyone into your house through social media and keeping your cell phone outside your bedroom for 8 hours as you sleep? What happens?
Yeah. Why not try it? What have you got to lose?
Exactly. A text message at 2 a.m. that really doesn't mean anything. So, Megan, where do you want them to start at? Where do you want your door enter clients to come in at?
What do you mean by that?
Like first time client, how should they, like, when they go to your website, where do you want them to start at?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you meant like that or like, who do I want them to be when they walk in my door?
Right.
Because I'm just going to meet them where they're at when they walk in my door. Step into my Zoom room. Certainly they can go to my website, which has been scrolling on the bottom there, meganedge.ca. It's not .com, it's .ca. I'm in Canada. And when you get there, you're going to come to that first page and you're going to see what it says on the very top of that first page, which is you are your own kind of beautiful. That's where I want you to start, actually, is just to let that be true for yourself. But then you're going to learn about what I do in my approach to healing. And you're going to learn a little bit about me if you choose to read about me. And I've got articles and I've got YouTube stuff. And there's all kinds of things on there that you can get.
There's a ton of stuff here.
There's a ton of stuff on there. Yeah. And then you go to the services page and you get those cards that come up and show you all the different ways in which we can work together. And that's not those aren't the only ways we can work together, but those are the most familiar ways that we can work together. And then if you think, yeah, this is great, awesome, I love her energy, I love the color of her, the color she's chosen, whatever, then you go to the booking page and you book in and you pick a time and I'll send you an email to say, hey, so glad you're here. What can I help you with? And we go from there. But they can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I've got a very vibrant YouTube channel, lots of resources. So you don't even have to come directly to me right away. You could go do some of the exercises I have on my YouTube channel or watch a workshop that I've given. And there's lots of stuff you can learn there about how to start this journey or continue this journey of healing, because we're all on it. whether you know it or not.
Right. Or you can, if you want to take a little step further, you have products.
I do.
You've got Etsy, you've got herbs, teas, lip balms, spice connections.
Yep, I do. So I have another business called Beyond the Garden Gate Botanicals. And that's my foraging, that's my nature as medicine, that's getting people out onto the beach or in the field or just in the park or your backyard if you have one. Really encouraging people to recognize how healing nature is. And then from there, there's this whole product line of salves and serums and oils and teas and tinctures, using the whole plant and bringing that whole plant medicine into these beautiful products. And you can reach that through both the websites, through the beyondthegardengate.ca or meganedge.ca. You can reach the Etsy store. And the Etsy store is Megan Edge Botanicals. So there's a few different circling
It's
ways.
a whole rope. That's why I'm like, start at meganedge.com.
Yeah.
.ca. You might want to get the .com just own. But anyway, start there. And you can go through. There is a ton of information. There's a ton of articles. There's a library of work there. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You have your own deck out.
I do. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. So this is a deck of oracle cards called the Heart's Journey, Healing Hearts Oracle Cards and Guidebook. And I published this with Hay House Publishing and Balboa Press. It was like a combination effort between self-publishing and traditional publishing. And in this beautiful deck, you get this whole set. It's actually like a healing toolkit, You get the guidebook, and the guidebook shares my personal story. I feel that's really important when we put a healing tool out in the world, that people understand or can read the why of it, the transparency of it. So I was going through a separation from the father of my children and the husband that my doctor said, hey, you should maybe think about your relationships with. And while I was doing that, I said to the universe, just give me a sign. And in the universe's infinite humor, it became hearts in nature. So here was this beautiful crossover. Then the book goes into each of the cards and deeper explanation of what the card means, and also how to work with oracle cards as a healing tool. It's not necessarily evident to everybody why these things are relevant or important in the healing journey. Any tool that you can use that focuses your attention on you, that's a good one to have. Then there's a journal that comes with it. Lots of places where you can write your thoughts, your ideas, your heart pulls. All the photography is my own, as these hearts found me. And then you get your pen and your bookmark. So, you really have everything you need. Right. And then the beautiful cards. And there's 42.
Which are amazing.
Yeah. 42 stock. Yeah. Full color, lots of different images. And then each card has a message on the back. So you've got everything you need at your fingertips. And the theme of it is obviously it's heart. It's about healing our heart wounds, and we're all carrying them. It could be your best friend who suddenly hit you over the head with a lunchbox and said they were never going to talk to you again. That was mine, because I was going from public school to private school. Carried that for a long time. It could be the breakup of a marriage. It could be the death of a loved one. These are all things that impact our heart. And we're beginning to understand how important our heart is in our well-being, and certainly in our health and wellness at both the physical and the emotional and energetic levels. And one thing I sent to you is a link for a gift for your audience to receive 15% off the purchase of the Heart Journey if they follow that link. And then they can have it for themselves, and they can work with it and play with it, or give it to a friend.
And that'll be put into the show notes.
Perfect. Yeah. So look down in the show notes, guys. That link will be there. And you'll be able to get your 15% off the deck, and check things out. And you'll have another book out within a year, and you'll have to come back and have coffee with me again. I would love that. I would too. A really great conversation.
I've enjoyed it, hon. Stop by anytime, email me, we'll sit down, we'll talk, okay?
Thank you. I will do that. And same to you.
Awesome, darling. Well, you have a great evening. Guys, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back. We're going back with our other standard topics. See you in a little bit, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Megan.
Bye.
Love diving into metaphysical topics, psychic insights, and lively discussions? Now you can help keep the conversation going. By becoming a Patreon supporter of the Psychic Coffee Shop, you'll gain access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and special perks just for our patrons. Join our community and ensure that your favorite psychic show continues to thrive. Your support helps us bring more enlightening episodes, special guests, and deep dives into the world of the unseen. Become a patron today and enjoy a cup of wisdom with us every week. Click the link to join the baristas and unlock exclusive content. Thank you for your support.
Unlock your full potential with Aeson Knight's life coaching. Are you ready to take control of your life and manifest the future you deserve? Aeson Knight, a seasoned life coach and master psychic, is here to guide you on a transformative journey. Whether you're navigating personal challenges, career transitions, or seeking spiritual growth, Aeson's life coaching services offer tailored guidance to help you achieve your goals. With Aeson by your side, you'll discover the tools to overcome obstacles, embrace your true self, and create a life filled with purpose and fulfillment. His unique blend of spiritual insight and practical coaching empowers you to turn your dreams into reality. Ready to make a change? Book your session today and start your journey to a more empowered, balanced, and joyful life with Aeson Knight. Click the link to schedule your first session and step into your power.
Are you ready for an electrifying podcast experience that keeps you coming back for more? Join Aeson Knight every week as he takes you on a journey through captivating shows, each exploring unique and fascinating topics. And here's the best part. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode where you can get your burning questions answered live on air, absolutely free. Whether it's relationship advice, career guidance, or mystical insights, Aeson's podcasts have got you covered. When you subscribe, you become part of a vibrant community, engaging directly with Aeson as he shares his wisdom and leaves you feeling empowered and enlightened. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation. What you'll get by subscribing: Monday 5 p.m. Metaphysics. Today, soulful conversations with Aeson Knight and Firefly, exploring the essence of metaphysics in today's world. Tuesday 8 p.m. The Psychic Coffee Shop. Dive into current events with a psychic twist, featuring special guests and thought-provoking discussions. Friday 9 p.m. The Mountain Bears Podcast. Lively discussions from a gayish, techie-ish, bearish perspective with Aeson and Joe. Sunday 5 p.m. Psychic That Plans. Get a weekly tarot energy overview and time management tips from Aeson Knight. Click here to subscribe now and never miss an episode. By subscribing, you're not just tuning in, you're joining a community of curious minds and ensuring you're always in the loop with Aeson's insightful and interactive shows. Don't wait. Hit that subscribe button and get ready for an amazing podcast journey.
Ready for an enchanting journey of self-discovery? Join Lord Aeson Knight in our Wicca courses. Unveil the secrets of Wicca. Explore deity relationships, rituals, and more. As a third-degree high priest, Aeson Knight guides you toward empowerment and enlightenment. Enroll today and take your first step into the magical circle. Click the link to begin your journey.
Psychic Saturday. Get 50% off with Aeson Knight every third Saturday of the month. Don't miss out. Book now.
Good evening, Joe. How are you, honey?
I'm doing good. How are you this evening?
Evil as normal, just creating more problems, apparently. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube, for cutting one of the streams. This is while we multi-stream. So if you guys got lost on another stream, I'm hoping you've hopped over to the coffee shop streams. It's always fun playing with the YouTubes and the Facebooks.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can always put the YouTube links where it did stream into the comments on the
right pages. Yeah. It's the fun of it all.
It is.
It is. So let's dig into it. Are you an asshole?
All right. Am I the asshole for deleting my parents' comments off my Facebook posts? Hello and good morning. I, female 36, have had a strained relationship with my parents for a long time. I was raised by two emotionally manipulative parents who made me grow up too fast. They weren't very kind to me nor affectionate. There's so much more, but you get the point. They weren't good parents. I went low to nearly no contact with them once I moved out at age 18. I even moved to a different state. They complained about my lack of communication for so long, and I never really cared. That was until I had children and they grew old enough to understand they had grandparents and aunts, uncles, and would ask me when they could meet them. A little over a year ago, I drove out to their state for Thanksgiving, and my children were happy to meet all of the family. It was nice, but that's as far as it went with me. I was at least happy that my parents were kind and caring towards my kids. They tried being sweet and affectionate with me, but I wasn't having it, and would walk away or not respond to their affection, which would visibly upset them. I decided to add my parents on Facebook after the trip to include them more in my children's life and tag them on the vacation photos, etc. But that's where the issues started. I post not only about my kids, but about me and my personal life, new relationship after being divorced for a long time, me out with friends, etc. And on every single post, both my parents comment the most outlandishly weird and affectionate messages to me along the lines of, "We love you so much, sweetie. You mean the world to us," etc., with shit ton of stickers. It absolutely infuriates me. I feel disgusted, embarrassed, and put off. So I began filtering out my posts so they don't see all of them. Well, I spoke to a few of my siblings about it, and they think I'm the asshole for not moving past, and one of them even told my parents about my filtering. They're upset with me now, but I'm having a hard time feeling bad about it. Please give me your input. Thank you.
No.
Part of me wants to say not the asshole. It's your Facebook page. You decide who you interact with and how and what the rules of engagement are. In much the same way, you kind of decide what the rules of engagement are with low contact family and whether or not you ever want to reestablish connection or not, or what your reasons for doing so are. I'm also struggling with the fact that I'm reading this and I'm going, I think there's a grain of truth, and I do mean a grain, in what your sibling has said, even if they said it horribly. It's not that you need to move past this exactly. It's more so, it sounds like you still have a lot of unresolved, like, anger and rage towards your parents. And I'm wondering how much of that is might be clouding your experience. I don't know. Where are you at?
I'm at, no, you're not an asshole for filtering out things that you don't want in your environment. Okay. I'm going to share this because this is where the poll's going to be at, because we lost Aeson Knight. You're on just the coffee shop channels. And that did not do what I wanted to do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Give me a minute, guys. Sorry, we're dealing with the technical difficulties.
It happens.
It does. But anyway. But no, they're not the asshole. Like, no. They've been probably told at least once to not comment that, or that's inappropriate, or do you really want to say that?
I mean, at some point, it moves from, like, caring about someone,
right,
and seeming like caring about other people knowing that you care about someone,
right.
And it's like, it's like, even if maybe her parents have learned a bit of a lesson that they were not good parents to her, and maybe turn that around for her siblings.
Right.
I mean, yay for that. you know, but it still seems like somehow they missed it.
Right.
That like you can't just snap your fingers and have this fixed. You can't. Like there's in the comments there's kind of a lean towards this is love bombing and trying to draw her back in. And I can't say that's wrong. That could very well be the situation.
Right.
But just looking at the post, it's like, oh, please get therapy. Right. You have a lot of unresolved anger. That this is irritating you so badly. Not that the behavior isn't irritating, it just seems to be hitting you really personally.
And it seems that there's still a lot of baggage there. But I don't think you're an asshole for deleting comments off Facebook. No. I've deleted comments off Facebook, but that's because they were misplaced. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by that? Mama Knight's a lovely Mama Knight, but sometimes she will come in there to comment on or to defend me, and it's like, I don't need defending today.
No.
Yeah.
No. Like, appreciate the loyalty, but this is not the time to take up the sword or the shield.
Exactly.
Like, no.
Another day. Right. Or, she won't like, I'll post like Saturn going into retrograde and it's time to like really look and balance out your life, and she'll come back in with, yeah, when are you going to come see me?
Okay, that one you should leave up.
I did.
But sorry, it's just cute.
It is cute, and it is Mom, and Mom does wonderful, but these are things that we have to look at and decide. Yeah. But I think when it comes to social media, you have a right to remove anyone from your plane of existence. Mm-hmm. It's your own little world. If you don't like them, remove them.
Yeah, well, see, the other part of that is, like, people get really upset about, like, being put into the limited, the filtered posts, the being removed or not approved as friends. Right. Like, I've gone through that. Previously, the job that I was in, I was... And granted, there's some truth to, because I vent on Facebook about how much I hate my fucking job.
Right.
But I got very adamant about I'm not adding coworkers.
Right.
Like, that was a very limited, like, I know if I only know you because I work with you.
Right.
I was strongly opposed to the idea of adding someone to my Facebook.
Right.
Or if they were in a managerial, like, context to me.
Right.
It's like, oh, no, we're not doing this. No.
Right.
Because I frankly had hit a point already where I was biting my tongue and trying not to say anything truly explosive about my job. And it's like, I don't think I can sit here and be a good person.
Right.
One, and see their Facebook post. And two,
right.
Knowing the experience I'm having at work, and that I'm eventually going to snap and say something.
Well, not only that, but it's kind of like, I don't want to see your baby mama drama. I don't want to see, certain things going on in your world. Why do you want to be on my Facebook? It's, I have a professional Facebook. You get a professional side of Aeson. You get to pay for a professional side of Aeson. I don't add coworkers to my private side.
Right. And then the other part, and I guess I'll go into it. It's far enough out now.
Mm-hmm.
That hopefully there's not going to be this, like, I'm not going to stir a pot and, create drama. But I was sincerely at a point that one of the issues I was having is my manager was going through And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't have sympathy. I do. I have tons of sympathy, tons of empathy. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But was like in a very short period of time, getting married, going through an adoption, dealing with infertility, buying a new car, just like every major life event just slammed into like a roughly 9-month period.
Right.
And this was also about the same time they were wanting to add me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, do you also understand that as you're taking all this time off to do these things,
mm-hmm.
that workload is shifting to me. Like your momentous life events, which I'm happy for you, don't get me wrong. It's not that I hate you,
mm-hmm.
but it's the reason I can't take vacation. I can't take a day off. Mm-hmm. I can't leave early. I can't take a long lunch. I can't plan to do anything right now.
Right.
Because every time I turn around in this 9-month period, you've gone from one momentous need time off work event to the next momentous need time off work event.
Right.
And I'm struggling. It's not that I hate you. I'm struggling. I'm burnt out.
Right.
And so it was like, you don't want to hear what I have to say.
Well, and see, that's where I get a little dicey on social media. And what I mean by that is your employer doesn't need to be seeing your Facebook. That's private.
I don't think so. I really don't. I still don't know how I feel about having a personal versus professional Facebook. Like I've not done it. I have one Facebook.
Right.
Now the business has a Facebook page.
Right.
And you know, I don't post as heavily there. But I don't know. I like, and especially the time period, because we're talking in that like 2008 period. Right. You know, I think we were still navigating the idea of what Facebook was and how to best use it, and we were oversharing a lot, and it was having a lot of consequences for people. And there was kind of a
oversharing.
Well, yeah, but I think we've gotten used to it at this point. Is that it's like whatever, you know, like my feed is so full. Overshare all you want to. The likelihood I even see it.
Thank God they invented algorithm.
Yeah, it's flipping loaded. I don't see stuff half the time. Right. You know, so like, and then find out later someone had a massive, you know, thing. Good or bad, which sucks. But at the same time, it's like, how much data can we take in? But back then, I don't want to call it pre-algorithm. There was an algorithm. It just worked differently. It was like you saw every post, everything that someone was sharing, everything that someone was saying. And I was like, I don't trust myself. I'm going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's bad enough already knowing and trying to still be happy for someone and keep professional at that without actually having to see it.
Well, and see, that's the thing. And granted, your work spot's a little different than, you know, my view and my work spot. The reason I have a professional public-facing Facebook and then I have a private-facing Facebook is because there are 3 rings to my life. And those that reach that inner ring are the ones that I want to see. The cute kids pictures, the interesting take on art, the creative side. And then I have the pagan side of Facebook, which is like the store openings and who's making what thing and this thing and that thing and this event and that event. Those can't coexist.
Okay.
Like, and here's a key example to this. The notebook that I love that, A1 sister-in-law put out, I only saw that on my personal page. I did not see that on my public page.
Mm-hmm. True. I don't know. I've stuck with the one plus the business page.
Right.
And I've not really done any heavy filtering. Like a good chunk of my clients are on my personal Facebook.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. Like I had to like make some peace with it.
Right.
But over time it's been like, okay, I'm good with this. Because I also think it sometimes makes me check myself. Like, do I really want to say that out loud?
Right.
Do I really want to say that out loud? Because I've adopted like a rule set for myself that, if I really want to say it, I'll say it.
Right.
And if you want to, be angry with me, be angry with me. But I've also noticed that I've had moments where it's like I'm minorly annoyed right now and I'm choosing to vet blog.
Right.
And it's like, that's not really a good choice. Like, that's not gonna, you know what I mean? Like it's not gonna get me what I want.
Right.
Why am I doing it?
Right.
It's not gonna make me feel better. It's not gonna put anything into the world that I want to put into the world. Okay, stop and go have a flippin' Oreo. Just like get over it.
Right. Have a Snickers and try again.
Yeah. Like stop whining online.
Yeah, but there's some of your posts you've put out, and I'm like, you need to go get me a Snickers.
What?
Some of your things you've put online, and it's like, you need to go get me a Snickers and possibly some roses.
I do have fun with our relationship and some of the things that go on.
Yes.
Like, it's funny. Sometimes it's just funny.
It's funny tomorrow.
It's funny after you've eaten.
I need roses. I need chocolate. Hop to it. That type of energy. But you have to draw those barriers and those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's hop over and do the psychic advice one. The poll is up. It is over on the Psychic Coffee Shop's backup channel. So you'll have to go over, click it. It is not on the stream on Aeson Knight has finished. They terminated it. I will upload this video as a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from our psychic bothering me, my ex-husband died October of 2022. Or no, excuse me. My ex-husband died on October 22nd. I knew he was ill, but no details. I knew nothing. We were estranged, no contact. The night before he died, a song that was extremely distinct played on my Google playlist. I asked for greatest country hits. I got AC/DC Back in Black, his last name and most identified song to him. I was so nervous, I wrote down the time and messaged my kids. I got a whisper from heaven. Something is about to happen. He died the next day. I'm not crazy. This truly happened. Please support me. Tell me this happens to other people. I feel so confused, but I noted it in writing.
Yes, it does happen to other people. And it's not only like songs play. People have trouble sleeping. Like, we have an inert, in-depth, built-in guidance system. We're not taught to use it. Some of us use it all the time. Others do not. But you'll have machines that act up. You'll wake up at 222, 111, 333 in the morning. You'll be driving down the road and the same song keeps playing over and over again. Mm-hmm. And you're like, there is no way I'm Gone has anything to do with my life right now. There's no way Reba is charting that song again. or Back in Black by AC/DC,
for some reason.
Is a fabulous song. It's
but not on a country playlist.
Yeah.
So it's a very awkward choice for a country playlist.
No. Yeah. But it does occur. And yes, it is your spirit guides messaging you, your angels messaging you. Do you make decisions on that? I do. Recently I made a decision on that because for 3 fucking days, I'd wake up at 111, 222, 333 in the evening. What is about ready to go on? Where is the grand scheme of change? Why is there roadwork on my path of life?
Yes. And then you found out.
Yeah. But that's what that is roadwork ahead. Roadwork ahead. Flashing. When you get angel numbers, when you get signs.
Roadwork.
There was road work and house building work, and there's databases being built. There's a lot of stuff going on that all occurred during this time.
So, I mean, yes, it does. And it bugs you. Talk about bothering me. It bugs you. Or it did in the beginning. When I do not freak out if I start running late.
Right.
And it bugged you to no end. And I'm like, look, I may not be all deep dyed in the wool or the woo. But I have a general theory on life. I start at a place of being ready to go. I've got my stuff together. I don't normally have to stop and look for stuff. I'm typically, if I need to be somewhere on time, I'm there early. If my whole morning is going to crap, suddenly I can't find my keys. Suddenly the car doesn't want to start. Suddenly this happens and that happens and this other delay occurs. I tend to just take I don't know what I'm avoiding or getting lined up for.
Right.
But we're just going to roll with it because this isn't me.
Right.
I'm not doing this. I religiously put my keys in the same place. I religiously put my wallet in the same place. Very rarely do I stray from that. So if suddenly I can't find my stuff and I can't get out the door, and when I get out the door, the car doesn't want to start, and then 20 buses want to go past me and I'm stuck and there's no reason for 20 buses to be going through. You know what I mean? And it's just one weirdo happenstance after the next. I don't launch into, I'm going to will the universe to bend towards me. I just sit back and go, whatever's happening is happening. I'm going to sit back here. And when I get there, I get there. And I have passed horrible accidents. And been I get the strong feeling if I'd left on time, I would have been right there.
Right.
Or it's worked into happy, happenstances. Someone that if I'd gotten there on time and done what I needed to do and left, would never have met that person. Wouldn't have had that opportunity, wouldn't have had that conversation, wouldn't have whatever.
Right.
And it's you know what? Just accept it. Sometimes it just is what it is.
Yes, and we've had that conversation, and we've also had the conversation where it's no, I invent my own reality, and people can get the fuck out of my way.
Yes, you are very much bend the universe to your will, and I'm sit back, let the universe do the universe.
The universe can do the universe on a day I don't need to be somewhere.
Well, because we have two different perspectives. I feel like it's self-sabotaging if I just get locked in and it's like, no, I'm going to force this to all go back on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm running late. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive like a bat out of hell, and I'm still going to be there on time.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't do it. No. No. Right. Not bending the universe towards my will. The universe has decided other things are happening today, and that's okay.
And the universe should have made an appointment.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think the only time he decided to go along with me was when you got to an event without a single tarot deck.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just mortified. You're just looking in your bag like, did it jump out?
Oh.
Like, how does this happen?
Yes.
Like, you were like, it's can't. No. And it's like, it's okay. We're going to, go to the nearest place. We can get a tarot deck. And it was one of those, like, everything that could go wrong on the trip just about did. Getting him a tarot deck. But we got there and everything lined up, and it was a perfect afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I don't know what the difference was supposed to have been with that, or why, or what that was about. Like what the thing was.
Right.
But no, like we had to go over a toll bridge. We didn't have a single, like it was like a 50-cent toll or a 25-cent toll. We didn't have a dime of change on us.
Yeah.
Like it just every which way. So we had to take a different route back. We finally found a quarter.
Right.
And like, I mean, it was just like every single thing. And it was like, but we got back and it was an absolutely beautiful, perfect afternoon. I don't know what he avoided. I can't tell. Maybe someone came in while you were gone that would have ruined your whole day. I don't know.
Possibly. We don't know. Granted, that event didn't last long after that occurred.
Well, it was a very quick event, yeah.
No, I'm talking about because that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe something magically happened while we were gone that you were supposed to have otherwise been there to like fight and argue and be like, no, we're gonna fix it.
Right.
And it's like the universe said, the fuck you are. Like this is what it's supposed to be.
Right.
You don't need an Aeson involved.
Yeah.
Like Aeson's gonna break it. Because wasn't that right before the Panini?
No, that was a year before the Panini when I told the event organizer, no, you cannot pass my handler around like he's change. He is not your staff.
Yeah. So, yeah, that kind of, it did like, but again, I don't know what that set in motion or stopped from setting in motion, and I don't particularly care to know.
Right.
I assume it worked out for the best.
Well, and it made, coming off the road more easier. Like, there was things that occurred in that. But it is what it is. But no, yes, the universe does this. You're not the only one to get left lane turn ahead. All right, so we'll go check the poll. And I'm going to be honest, there is no votes on the poll.
Oh, no. Okay.
Thank you for, and this happens every time we do a controversial video. Sometimes we lose our streams.
It does happen.
Yes. All right, guys. So we will be back on Friday with Mountain Bears at 9 p.m. We will be talking about the latest LGBT non-political topics.
Yes. All righty. So we've got some people to thank.
Yes. Oh. As soon as I find the right ticket.
Oh no!
I'm working on the lame dock machine, meaning that this is the lame mouse and the keyboard.
Okay. So we'll get that fixed. And so anyway, we do want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Caitlin Bell, Devin, Bella, and Maria Meyer. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes, and we'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.